Would you believe that the difference between failing the USMLEs and scoring in the 260s or higher could be as simple as changing how you use UWorld? It may sound too good to be true, but as a 99.9 percentile Step 1 score who matched at Harvard MGH, I've seen it happen time and again, including someone who failed Step 1 and in under 2 months scored a 262 on his NBME before passing his retake. The advice to repeat UWorld originated many years ago when UWorld had significantly fewer questions. What most people don't realize is that over a short period of time, UWorld has dramatically increased the number of questions in its Q banks, and it may not be for the reason that you're thinking. UWorld Step 1 questions increased from 2,519 in January of 2019 to 3,796 in October 22, which is a 50% increase in just a few years. The Step 2 Q bank increased from about 2,300 to 4,077, which is a 77% increase. I know what you might be thinking. Maybe you just need to know more, and so over the short period of time, they just increase the number of questions. However, I think that the reason may be more nuanced, which should impact how many times people think that they should be doing their Q banks. So what people may not remember is that AMBOSS came into the US in about the spring of 2017. They had all these big promotions and people were, jumping on board, and they had like all this, they were giving free subscriptions and things like that. It's hard not to notice that only like a year or two after that, UWorld started dramatically increasing the number of questions in its Q bank. My personal view on this is that UWorld may have made a business decision. Before that time, a lot of people would be doing multiple Q banks, and the big question was, oh, what should my second Q bank be, since UWorld only had about 2,000 some questions. Now, with AMBOSS coming in really strong, it's hard not to think that UWorld made a business decision to try to increase the number of questions to A, kind of crowd out the competition, and B, to increase their price, which we all know they've been doing over the years. So how does this impact you, right? One thing to recognize is that A, if you're using effective learning strategies like spaced repetition, you may not need to do more than one passive UWorld and may not even need to do a single passive UWorld. Spaced repetition, as we've talked about, involves reviewing materials at an increasing interval to promote long-term retention. So if you remember the questions well the first time, based on your studying the first time that you went over the material, you may not need to do another passive UWorld because you might understand it so well. Instead, what I would recommend is trying to learn things well the first time so you don't need to repeat the questions again. The people who score the highest on the USMLEs tend to be doing more Q bank questions per day. So it's natural to assume that if I see someone doing 80 to 100 plus questions and they score really high, that if I should just do 80 to 100 plus questions, that I should see my score skyrocket to a similar extent. Now, the logic is alluring. There's a lot of good reasons to expect that Q banks are supposed to help, and they do, right? The testing effect is real, it's powerful, it improves learning, retention, and ability to apply information. And all of these things are critical for doing well on an application-heavy exam like the USMLEs. However, remember that correlation is not causation. Let's think about this. So even a casual basketball fan knows that NBA players who take the most shots on the team tend to make the most money. Now, if I increase the number of shots that I take, that I'm going to make more money? No, of course not, right? The reason why the people that take the most shots make the most money is because of something independent of the number of shots that they're taking, which is that the players with the most skill are the ones that are trusted to take the most shots, and the players with the most skill are also given the highest salary. In a similar way, we shouldn't assume that just the number of questions is going to be the cause of why someone increased their score so much. Instead, it is likely a sign of how strong someone's foundation is. For example, I see this happen a lot where someone that comes in that doesn't have the strongest foundation says, oh my gosh, I need to just do lots of questions because that's what my school is telling me. Because again, the schools are looking at this and they're saying, oh, well, our best students are doing lots and lots of questions per day. And so of course, we should tell all of our students to do lots of questions per day because the students that are most successful are doing this. The issue comes when students who are not particularly strong, who probably should be spending more time reviewing the questions, which means that they're going to have to do fewer questions per day, decide, oh, okay, I need to just increase the number of questions that I'm doing. Let me give an example. I mentioned the student that failed Step 1 and then scored a 262 on his NBMEs in under 2 months before he retook and passed his test. By the end, he was doing probably 80 to 100 questions per day, just like everyone else. However, in the beginning, he slowed down dramatically. In the beginning, he was doing maybe like 5 or 10 questions at a time and really making sure that he understood everything in the question and making sure that he understood the material so well that he could get that or any related question correct in the future. And so the key is don't obsess about vanity metrics like the number of questions that you're doing, especially in the beginning. Instead, make sure that whatever you learn it well enough and remember it using spaced repetition so that you never forget it. Do you want to move beyond just knowing what resources to use and understand how? Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons so you can get higher scores in less time.